Hello BCM325, my name is Daisy Looms and this is the beta presentation for my digital artifact. I've made quite a few changes since I presented my pitch. Through the feedback I got and the discussions I had with people, I decided that I wanted to steer my digital artifact in the direction of what these people found to be the most interesting aspects of my original pitch. So instead of just looking at communication between two people or a couple, I decided to explore the future of language as a whole and how we might move towards more universal future languages, whether through invention or naturally, and the role that culture and identity plays in language and will continue to in the future. So I created a thesis for my digital artifact just to make it make sense to myself. And that is, how can we retain the role of culture and identity in language as it develops going into the future? So in terms of feedback and how it influenced me, one piece of feedback I got was from Sophia, and she brought up the idea of languages being shaped within different social and cultural groups. And this prompted me to sort of explore the importance of culture and identity in language. I also got feedback from Jasmine, who talked about the role of technology in communication, which again led me to think about the role of technology in the development of language and how we use it today. So having this feedback was really helpful to just sort of identify what the best parts of my pitch were and to pursue those, especially considering that Sophia and Jasmine are both doing the subject and could look at it through the lens of futurology and give me some really useful feedback and some really useful academic sources as well. So I will have 3 parts to my digital artifact. Firstly, I'll have a sort of contextual blog post just giving background and definitions around language and the history of language, how it evolved, and also the role that culture and identity plays in language, and just sort of summarize the academic views of the past and the present of language. Secondly, I will write another blog post which will explore the current academic views on the development of language going into the future, and also the predictions and proposals that have been made by futurists for possible universal future languages. So this will look more at case studies and current examples of what people believe future language will look like. And I will also look at the representations of future languages in popular culture within that blog post. My final element will be a short podcast which will explore these ideas presented by academics and futurists, and I will argue that the main issue with trying to forecast or invent a future language is that we aren't considering the role that race and culture and identity plays in language. And I will argue that we don't want to just be working towards one future universal language. We don't want to homogenize language. We want to identify that there's multiple futures that we can work towards, and multiple future languages that are possible, and that we shouldn't resign ourselves to having one future universal language. I also would like this podcast to sort of summarize the blog post so that it can stand alone. That's a goal that I have for it. So the blog post will be addressing near future, probably a year in terms of like trends and slang, and decades in terms of academic forecasting of language, and then the podcast will address the more distant future and maybe centuries, thousands of years even into the future. So that is where I'm currently at with my digital artifact.